Yep. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Nice to see you guys here in Paraguay. See a lot of new faces, pretty much all new faces. That's very nice to see. This is our weekly space to just ask any questions you may have about Paraguay, whether it's the residency, the cedula, the RUC, tax residency, tax declarations, investments, real estate, living in Paraguay, literally anything that can help you, get the most out of the journey you're taking. But before starting, of course, it's worth noting a couple of things that happened throughout the week, because we also use it as a space to have some updates about important stuff. So the first update is that, as some of you have certainly already seen, Paraguay has passed a quite disgraceful resolution about crypto. I'm going to be super happy to answer any questions about that. But to the core, what it says is that any person that is a resident of Paraguay, that is incorporated in Paraguay, will have to file a mandatory declaration of all their crypto transactions if their volume exceeds $5,000 a year. And some people reacted to this news saying, oh, then I will not open my RUC. Actually, it's a bit worse than that. Like it says, if you do move more than $5,000 a year, you have to open the RUC just to be able to disclose that. Now, as we also posted in our video, it is not something that you must necessarily do. It's easily avoided by just handling crypto through any offshore structure. Of course, the easiest is always being a US LLC. One can go for a Nevis LLC, a Hong Kong LTD. Literally any structure that is incorporated outside of Paraguay will not have any obligations with regards to this new resolution. And at the same time, I understand that it's not just about the resolution, it's about the philosophy behind it, which is a philosophy of surveillance, and none of us likes that. At the same time, I do foresee that it can get a little bit worse before it gets better, because this year we're going to go through the second round of the BEPS, which is basically a peer review system with which the OECD evaluates a country and determines if it's a gray list, blacklist, or a transparent country. So far, Paraguay has passed phase 1 in 2021, then 2023 when it ended. But it was like, I'd say more of a gift than and actually like they passed it. I think back then also, Paraguay was a little bit outside of the map compared to nowadays. So one would say, yeah, Paraguay, like just put a green dot on it, like who cares? And nowadays, of course, it has made a name for itself as a jurisdiction, so they have taken this step. And I wouldn't be surprised if next year they take the step to enter CRS. But that saves the core at the end of the day. The core has always been the pure territorial taxation, no minimum stay required, and no criteria to get residency. So to save the core, there has been some compromises about the fringes. But at the end of the day, I hope one day they'll realize that the OECD doesn't pay the country's bills anyways. So it's also true that soon after saying that, the Inter-American Development Bank committed $2.6 billion in investments in the next 10 years in Paraguay. So, one can see also what they got in return. It's sad, but it is what it is. And again, the loophole was made very clear already inside the resolution. So that is absolutely doable. No company headquartered outside of Paraguay has any obligations to do this declaration. Moving on to happier news. Later at 8 p.m. is going to be the grand opening of the Gringo Night. We're launching the largest event for expats in Asuncion. There's more than 2,200 people who have joined the list already. It's going to be quite a nice thing. We threw it also in the groups, but just recapping the important details. It's going to be a night from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. For those who want to come, we're going to have our drivers waiting downstairs, so they will drive us right there. And it's going to be a chance to connect with the expat community, to connect with the locals as well. For those who want to practice their Spanish, we're going to have a social dinner from 8 p.m. to 9:45 p.m. We're going to have different tables with different teams, so you can connect around the topics that really resonate with you, whether it's crypto, whether it's practicing Portuguese, whether it's talking about digital nomad lifestyle and trips, or real estate investments. There's really for all tastes. Then we're going to have a 30-minute social game time. There's going to be a lot about networking, really. There's going to be some activities that are really made for meeting new people and just, having the possibility to make friends. And then from 10:15 to 1 a.m., it's going to be a proper lounge party with DJ set, and we are hosting it into the prime location of Asuncion, which is 5 minutes away from Shopping del Sol in Terraza del Lirio. It's a very nice rooftop. We stayed up the whole night in this week dancing to pray for the sun. Seemed like it worked. After the big floods, heaven opened the waters to make the Gringo night happen. And it's going to be free entry. There's going to be dinner options. So you can pick freely from the menu. They have the very nice kitchen at Delirio, and there's going to be a lot of fun, just in general. So you can, forget about the crypto declarations for a few hours. And that's it about the most important updates of the week. As always, now we can get the proper Q&A session started. So if Hannibal or Lucas or anyone who is there can just pass the second microphone. Just go back to front, maybe.
Hey, I just arrived on Friday and rented my first month via Airbnb. Any recommendations to continue renting month by month, where to find apartments and such?
Absolutely. So first of all, just feel free to ask the team, by the way, to be accompanied in real estate tours and to check the contracts they propose you, because a lot of time they are not exactly great. So Maria Paz is our team member that also helps in that regard. For any of you who need some help, that's just something we provide for free. Now, I would say, if you're looking to stay in an area where you have the best services, infrastructure, etc., but you don't mind about, of course, being a little bit more people around and cars and just more energy to it, the area to start with, to me, is always Shopping del Sol. Around the area of Shopping del Sol, you're going to have the best options. Just walking distance, you can find the best gyms, the best restaurants, the best cafeterias. There are, of course, the price point is higher than in any other point of the city. We're looking at, depending on the building, between $14 and $17/$18 per square meter per month. That's a good average right there. Maybe in a place without amenities, where there's just apartments, you can look at $12 per square meter per month. But that is pretty much the range right there. As close as you can be to those two shopping centers, the better. So I also live right beside Paseo La Galeria. And to me, it's more a matter of being close to the office. I think the longer you stay, the more you're going to want to go away from that area in a certain sense, because, at some point, it's nice to also experience something more local, but it's a journey, I've seen it a lot of times. But it's a great place to start. You're also going to meet more foreigners, more locals who speak English. So it's going to be easier adaptation, and a lot of international brands just in general, whether it's the shops, the restaurants. Recommendations are, if you're looking for month to month on Airbnb, you're going to be paying around 35% more than a long-term lease. On a long-term lease, what you're going to be facing is a little bit of a troublesome situation for a new person coming to the country, because as you don't have a RUC and you can't show 6 months of tax declarations, they have a hard time deciding what your solvability is, right? So generally, they ask to pay upfront, at least a few months. What I was doing, for instance, on my first year of long-term lease in Paraguay, was I negotiated 12 months, prepaid upfront, but at the same time, I would I would ask for a discount, and I negotiated a 15% discount, which at the end of the day is very good. It's literally like investing your money at a 15% guaranteed rate of return, which is a deal I would take any day of the week. At the same time, they're gonna probably question you a little bit about what you do and whatnot, because like you don't have a proper credit score in Paraguay. That's it. Consider that the two things you will pay on top are 50% of 1 month's worth of rent as real estate commission. If they ask you for more, it's a scam. And then 1 month of deposit. That's it. That's the standard way of doing it. And the standard way of doing it is always the tenant pays for it. That is my best suggestion. And you will find heaps of towers around. So just feel free to ask, and Maripaz is going to accompany you everywhere, but there's so many. If it wasn't there, an area where you still have extremely good services around, but it's a little bit less crowded and busy, is Villamorra. Villamorra was the big financial center of the city before the area of Shopping del Sol and Paseo La Galeria came around. So it still has a great vibe to it. It's very walkable. It's less chaotic. At the same time, it doesn't, let's say, have the same, like big shopping center where you can literally sort all your problems in one place. And it's not as packed with people who speak English or are foreigners. But it's definitely a good option. And nowadays, let's say you get a 10%, 15% lower price compared to the area of Shopping del Sol. There's not much of a difference, but there is a little bit. The least you can do generally on a proper lease contract is 6 months, but it's not gonna be accepted by everybody. There's a lot of places that only do 12 months. So that is something to consider. But maybe in the beginning, a couple of months in an Airbnb, maybe trying 2 different areas of the city and seeing how actually you enjoy one and the other and making comparison. I would say it's a good investment, because then 1 year is a long time, so you wanna collect as much intel as possible before committing.
Sure. Thanks, man.
Thanks, mate.
Well, I guess we do it with the mic. Still trying to wrap my head around the crypto regulation, which I guess pisses some people off, like me also. And I guess there's a lot of offline questions to be asked and later on in the round table. Now, just out of curiosity, how specific are they in terms of separating crypto assets to stocks, let's say? Because there is now real world assets which are on the blockchain, right? So is that a crypto asset or is that now a stock? Or how specific do they separate that? How well thought through is it actually?
No. It's actually not as thought through as you would imagine. And it's just about proper crypto. It's not about digital assets that are on a blockchain but are not crypto. So like even NFTs, in a certain sense, they are not part of the regulation. I would say it's really dumb the way they structured it, because you're supposed to include also like what chain was it, what type of coin was it, how much fees you paid for it. It doesn't make any sense, right? We had some comments by people who do like algo trading for crypto and make like 600 transactions a day. It's like, imagine filling a form with all of that.
How does it work then?
Like, reality is, generally in Paraguay, there is a huge distinction between theory and practice. Like, I've spoken with a few guys that have been staying here for some time already, and like they know the game. And those like people that have 95% of their assets in Bitcoin or similar. And they said, yeah, I'm not gonna do it. And everyone was like, yeah, obviously, man. And I was like, okay. Like, I would say there's heaps of rules in Paraguay that don't get respected. There's been quite some heavy rain in the last few days, right? So the national TV started broadcasting this guy complaining that his car got... You've seen that? Like, some land collapsed in front of a hotel and just ate this guy's car. And it was like, yeah, because here is where we all park the car. And imagine that, like my car just fell into a huge hole and whatnot. And everyone was like, yeah, this is so bad because this is the parking, right? Yeah, this is the parking. Like we all park here. And then the anchorman just goes like, yeah, it's so bad. And he's walking. And then he turns his head and just this huge, like, prohibited to park sign. And the TV presenters didn't know what to say. They were like, yeah. Well, one has to pay attention to those details as well. Moving on. They just changed. So, and the difference between theory and practice has always been a huge theme in Paraguay. I wouldn't expect many people to file that. And it's obviously not possible for an algo trader because according to the law, you would have to go manually. If you could at least upload the CSV, I could understand. It's doable, right? Because, I do algo trading, I just put everything on a CSV, I upload it, and that's it. But no, like you have to file this form, which is literally like a manual form. They probably expect people to be doing, I don't know, like 6 transactions a year or something like that. And to be fair, like just one transaction, imagine like reporting like the wallets and the transaction hash and everything of this nature, just like the chances you get one number wrong, one letter, uppercase or lowercase. It's stupid. It's really stupid. There's a lot of resentment, not only from the experts, but from the locals as well. Yesterday, there was a super strong police presence around the DNIT, which is the tax authority. One of our drivers, Joan, came to the office and said, I've seen what's going on at the tax authority. It's full of police, like they've surrounded all the tax authority with the police because the protesters were gathering around the streets. I was like, wow, like people really do feel it. I made a video on my local profile that speaks to the Paraguayans. And the video got to 7,000 views, 2,000 likes plus. It's like, I wasn't expecting them to react so strong. So our hope strategy, what we planted also with some members of parliament that have been very helpful, it's the inconstitutionality of this resolution, which is double. First of all, because the tax authority is just acting as if they were the legislative power. You can just do something that has more consequence than most laws that get approved on a daily basis without any discussion, without any parliamentary resolution. So the first is that, like, there's just a conflict of power. And the second is that in Paraguay there is banking secrecy by constitution. And unless you get specifically investigated for tax purposes or you get specifically investigated for money laundering or whatever the case, your transactions are kept secret at the bank level. This is why during the first review of BEPS, it was impossible to introduce CRS in Paraguay. Now, one may very well argue that the Constitution has done that for the same reason why you should also protect the privacy of crypto transactions. So I think there's a good chance they will take it back. But at the same time, the only fast, easy way to take it back is not being so fast as I expected. The fastest way, there are 3 ways: inconstitutionality, a law that overrides it, or decreto del poder ejecutivo, which is basically a president, how do you call it? In the US, there's this thing as well, like a presidential decree, a presidential statement. My initial idea was like, if the president signs, he's a smart guy, very cool, been hugging Milei on global stages shouting together, "Viva la libertad, carajo," and then you introduce shit like that. I mean, it's a serious incoherence right there. So I think that the president would have signed immediately and gained a lot of popularity as a result. It would have been a huge political win. And I'm surprised that didn't happen yet, at least. But in the legislative power, pretty much everybody is against this thing on both sides of the spectrum. So I'm pretty confident it's going to get changed. The only problem is that both the inconstitutionality and the overriding by a new law, they do require some time. Like it's no easy, it's not a fast process. So it's not going to be as fast as I would like to. There's also other big holes into this thing. Because like if you have a local crypto exchange, there's one, for instance, I know the owners very well, then the declaration must not be done by the user. It must be done by the crypto exchange automatically. But this thing has been introduced in March and covers the whole year. So they have a 2-month gap with the obligation to report for the whole year. But at the same time, for 2 months, they've had all their users doing transactions, and now they should technically go back to each and every one and being like, yeah, you remember on the 9th of January, you sent those 20 USDTs to that guy? Like, who's that guy? It's a nightmare. It's really a nightmare for them. So we'll see how it goes. But the normal standard way to operate in Paraguay is like, yeah, there's this law, but we don't actually follow it, you know. So my take is that they do a lot of things so that the OECD goes like, yo, you guys are doing amazing. And then, you know, there's this way of saying in Portuguese. I don't think we have any Brazilians today, but in Brazil, they say para inglês ver, which means for the Englishman to see. Because Brazil once needed a big, big loan from Queen Victoria. And Queen Victoria said, okay, we'll do it if you abolish slavery. They're like, yeah, sure. Consider it done. Queen Victoria comes to visit Brazil. They put all these big signs everywhere, like slavery is illegal, remember, slaves are no longer allowed, and this and that. But everyone knew it was only para inglês ver. It was only for the Englishman to see it. So chances of that being the case with the new crypto resolution are 99%.
So to finish this up with the crypto, it's still not sure what's going on, and still not sure if this regulation will stay. And what happens if someone doesn't declare all these transactions?
Well, the thing is, you must file the declaration, okay, if you moved more than $5,000 a year.
If I move it, where to?
Sorry?
Where to? Inside Paraguay?
Yeah. It's this.
But if the crypto stay outside Paraguay, what happens then?
No, technically, according to the resolution, that doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
If you're a resident and you make more than 5K in volume, that's it. Now, you have a deadline every year to submit the file. If you forget and you file late, you're subject to a 1 million Guaramis sanction, which is like $180, something like that. But if you say, oh, I didn't touch crypto, and then they realize, yeah, you did touch the crypto, then you go and you're fined, and the fine is still quite small. But if you had to pay taxes on it, so that does follow territorial system. Taxation does follow territorial system about crypto in Paraguay. It's only the declaration that does not. The declaration doesn't care where you were or who you sent to or why. But the taxation is territorial. So if it wasn't taxable in any case, then no problem. And if it was taxable, you owe the tax and a small percentage of sanction. With all of that, I would say, how do we avoid false declarations? Because you see, like the easiest way for them to know if you moved crypto, well, first of all, if you use a centralized exchange, surely. But the second way is for the guy next to you to put on his form that he sent you some crypto. What if that wallet doesn't belong to you? Like, how are you gonna prove that that belongs to a certain person? If it's not on a centralized exchange, if it's in a cold wallet, and I say, oh, I'm sending this person $1 million in crypto, then the DNIT can go to that guy and be like, oh, you didn't declare this $1 million. And the guy could be like, it's not mine. Like, I really never seen this money. It's not my wallet. And no one has a chance to know whether or not it's true or false. That's pretty worrisome in a certain sense. So we'll see how many people do file that declaration. To me, they're not going to reach 1,000 people.
Okay. And to follow up the first question of renting an apartment, the other option would be to buy one. What's the better option? What about the housing market?
Consider that if you buy one, you're going to be looking at a yield. Let's say because you have to take into consideration the opportunity cost of your money, right? So what if I invest that money and pay the rent? The opportunity cost in Paraguay is pretty high because the bank in Paraguay yields a lot. Consider that a pretty much risk-free product like a CDA, which is the Certificado de Ahorro, fixed-term deposit, in Guarani yields 9.5% a year. Anything that is any slightly more risky, because of the law of risk-adjusted return, yields more. Now, an apartment will yield anywhere between 5% and 8% a year. And the appreciation, well, we'll see, because the people who have the most problem with this new crypto regulation are 100% the developers. The real estate developers are the ones who are going to go really down with this declaration, as a lot. We're talking 40%, 30%, depending on the developer. But I know pretty much all the big developers in Paraguay. And they all had from 30% plus transactions settled in crypto. And that is a big team, because if 30% of the demand vanishes overnight, you're looking at a Lehman Brothers kind of moment for the real estate market. So I wouldn't do it now. I would say that if the regulation does its thing and the demand really vanishes, if you do it in 6 months, you can probably wait for the big dip, like generational opportunity to buy in an apartment, because it's going to be probably...
It's a bubble.
It's not, let's say, a bubble. The thing is, like, so far, they've always been very... Like, in the towers, you only find foreigners. Keep this rule in mind. 80% of the people who live in towers are foreigners. They may not be from Europe. They can also be from Argentina, from Brazil, from Bolivia, but they're foreigners. Now, these foreigners, in most cases, are associated to crypto in a big percentage of the cases. So if they don't want to move big sums in crypto here because the declaration, then they stop buying here. And what you risk is having a big drop in demand and a big drop in prices. So far, the supply has always been criticized here because it was kind of optimistic. But at the same time, the world always found a way to get more fucked up and to bring more people to Paraguay and buy up all the supply. And even in the towers that are empty, if they are empty, it's because there's reasons. You know, it's generally the second houses of rich people from Ciudad del Este, or from the interior of Asuncion, or from the interior of Paraguay, or from Brazil. There's always a reason. Like, just recently, I found out that 3 people I know that have huge, but like not maybe billionaires, but like hundreds of millions in personal wealth in Paraguay. They are Paraguayans. Own apartments in a tower where I live, and they don't live in Asuncion. They live in Ciudad del Este. But they have these apartments because when they visit Asuncion, they have their apartments right there. But it's mostly empty throughout the year. Still, they have it. So a great percentage, if it's not 100%, but it's always like around 90% of all the units available are sold. Otherwise, they would have stopped building a long time ago. But now this regulation risks creating a drop in demand, a solid one, in a very optimistic market. So that can be really a big game changer. I have never invested in towers. I have always invested in real estate, as some of you may know, through single-family homes in Paraguay to catch a local public. That's what we do with our real estate investments as a community. And it's always been based on numbers. It was always the highest yielding opportunity. And at the same time, it was also kind of more free and lax because in 6 months, you would go from an empty plot to having sold the house. Take 3.5 months, 4 months to build, couple months to sell. In 6 months, you're out. You've made 13%, 12%, and you reinvest the money. Easy peasy. And now I've opened the gym, a CrossFit and martial arts gym. I'm planning the next local business I want to open here. Anything but towers. Like apartments in towers are really, you're going to be left holding the bags. In general, because prices have stagnated since 2023.
Okay.
But now, the only way is down. And if they join CRS, my God, the only way is down. So, yeah, I wouldn't do it, honestly. For the cost opportunity you have for that money, there's a million better ways to invest it, whether it's in the international markets or in the local market.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Alessandro.
Hey.
I'll ask you at the end in Italian. I'm Italian too.
Okay.
Hello. First of all, congratulations on the gym. It's open?
Yeah, it's open. We did the grand opening last Friday.
All right, amazing. I will visit it. I have a few questions, but we can start with the crypto. Would you say for now it's just best to have cold wallets? Just don't touch the centralized exchanges?
Yeah.
On a personal level?
On a personal level, absolutely. You can also have your LLC using SEX and centralized exchanges and moving your crypto to any cold wallet. That's it. That's honestly it. So that is the easiest way to do it.
All right. And for entrepreneurs like myself, I don't want to live in Paraguay. I just have the tax residency here. How do I make sure that I still keep some kind of financial credibility in more developed markets, let's say in Europe, for example?
So your question is, how do I make sure that I get a financial footprint in Europe, meaning like I'm able to open bank accounts there? Or how do I show to Europe, for instance, that I have financial ties to Paraguay so that they don't bother my tax residency?
No more. So is it possible to get stuff like mortgages or financing, different things, and not via a company, but personal, or does it have to be via a company?
At a personal level, it's more difficult. It's more difficult. Like with a US LLC, you can build up credit score by getting an ETIN, go to the US, apply for a Chase card, use the Chase card, build the credit score, apply for a better card, and through all of that in 1 or 2 years, in the US, the credit score is expressed as a number. You're eligible for credit. Now also Stripe has a credit feature, which is pretty good. And then even with Mercury, you can have a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 credit card. For instance, in Stripe, I think we can ask for a $60,000, $70,000 loan without, like, we're pre-approved. We can just click a button and get it, which is fine. So going the US route for credit is definitely the easiest. Going the European route for credit is much harder as a resident of Paraguay, also because there's no good corporate structure you could open in Europe, which can make you at the same time like optimized at a tax structure and eligible for credit. So I wouldn't say Europe is a great deal, but in the US, just do US LLC, ITIN, Chase physical account, start using the credit card and build your credit score from there. Over time, you can easily get to apply for a mortgage and other things. Easier done if you apply for a mortgage on a house in the US than on a house that is abroad, because the problem is it's hard to repossess a house abroad. So a bank would generally be more skeptical towards it.
All right. And if you don't want to have a US LLC to combine it with the Paraguayan tax residency, what countries LLC or LTD would you recommend? Like Hong Kong or?
Hong Kong, LTD, yes. Nevis, LLC are the two best options you can go.
Which was the second one?
Nevis.
Nevis. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the Caribbean. It's the LLC in Nevis works just the same as in the US, like just the same. But it's a way more private jurisdiction. Other structures that would work well are Singapore, but it's more expensive compared to Hong Kong, so I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say Estonia has the e-residency program that allows you to open a company remotely and everything else. You do pay a 20% tax on dividends. I think now it's 22. But if you pay yourself a salary instead of paying yourself dividends, then you're exempt from that tax. Generally, it's well accepted as long as your salary stays below 200,000 euros a year. If you overcome that, then they're going to start arguing that you're using the salary to avoid taxes on dividends, blah, blah, blah. But up until that point, it's surely doable and gives you a foothold in the EU. It's easy to bank a Estonia company in Europe, and it's something you can open in 2 to 3 weeks, pretty much.
And that's an Estonian e-residency, but up to 200,000 euro a year, right?
Yeah, that's what you can pay yourself as a salary. Then you would start paying yourself for dividends, and it's taxed at 22%.
When you convert temporary residency into a permanent residency, DNIT will look at what you've done so far in Paraguay, right? Like, have you paid invoices? Have you been there? What's the actual amount? Because I know technically you say 1 day per year, but your team also recommends to be here 1 to 2 weeks per year.
Yeah, no, the reality is that the law states 1 day per year is fine, and that is it. So far, there is no correlation between converting temporary residency to permanent residency and the DNIT. The DNIT is purely a tax authority, while the authority that deals with the temporary and then permanent residency is Migraciones, the National Directorate of Immigration. So they are two completely separate things. It's true that one thing you can do to convert temporary to permanent residency is to show you have a RUC, or as an alternative to show you have a university degree. And if you have a RUC, they only ask you for the Constancia de RUC, which is the only document you must present. The Constancia de RUC doesn't say how much money you're making in your RUC. It just says you have an active RUC, and it's either that and the Certificado de Cumplimiento Tributario. That is the name. The Certificado de Cumplimiento Tributario that goes along with the Constancia de RUC is another document, and it states that you are up to date with all your tax filings in Paraguay. So if every month you have filed taxes, and every year you file the yearly tax return, regardless of how much you have declared, you are compliant, okay? You don't have any declarations you didn't file. And those are the only two documents that you have to present to the tax authority, that you have to present to Migraciones if you want to use the RUC as a proof of solvency for converting temporary residency to permanent residency. So regardless of how much money you have invoiced, that's purely it.
All right. Have you ever had a case where a client of yours wanted to convert the temporary one to the permanent one, but couldn't do it for any kind of reason?
No, it's also true that up until last week, they never checked the mandatory visits. Okay, so the temporary residency started existing in October 2022. Before, there was only permanent, and it was with a $5,000 deposit in a bank account. Now they've introduced the temporary residency. So after 2 years, October 2024, it was the first time we faced a conversion, And we followed all the rules, and according to these rules, one had to present the Certificado de Registro Migratorio, which is the document that states all the time you've entered and left the country. And we arrived at the counter, and they didn't want to take it. They said this is not necessary. And then they also clarified they didn't need the document, and they wouldn't check this requirement. After all this time, now they are checking it, starting Wednesday last week. If one is not eligible for conversion, they can still extend their temporary residency for another 2 years. So you keep your cedula number, you keep your RUC number, you keep everything you have done, but you extend another 2 years of temporary residency before you can actually go to permanent.
All right, just two more quick questions here. Are there any positives to increasing the amount that you invoice yourself, like the VAT that you're paying, or should you just keep it at 50?
For a person that does not live here, no.
Okay.
It has a lot of sense if you're living here, because it's going to give you access to better bank accounts, credit cards, as we were saying, credit score when it comes to renting an apartment. It will open your financial life in Paraguay. But when it comes to a person that does not live here, no benefits.
All right, and last question. Do you have a Paraguayan passport?
Not yet. I have to apply for the Brazilian before I can do the Paraguayan.
All right, and so when can you get it? Like, if I don't live in Paraguay, I just come here just
No, if you don't live in Paraguay, you are never eligible.
needs to be via naturalization, like
Yes.
you live here.
Yes.
How long? 5
It's
years.
3 years of permanent residency. So if you start with temporary, that's 5 in total. But in the first 2, when you're in temporary, doesn't matter what you do. But when you do the permanent, then it's 3 years of permanent residency in which you actually are based and live in Paraguay. And then, yes, they check all the taxes you've paid, if you own any real estate, if you own any vehicles, that is all presented. So when it comes to the naturalization, it's not such an easy endeavor like the residency. You really gotta show that you have become part of Paraguayan society, which is significantly hard / impossible for a person that does not live in Paraguay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, mate.
Hey, I've got one question. Well, 2 questions. So I have a basic bank account at Weno, and I'm using, let's say I'm invoicing $500 to my LLC per month, and I'm planning to use that to get a full bank account.
Yes.
So from what I understand, I can only deposit into my bank account whatever I declare. So if I change that amount, let's say I go from 500 to 1,000.
Yeah.
Does the bank know that, or do I need to call them and tell them that I'm depositing more?
You need to tell them. You need to tell them. Generally, you go, in the case of Bueno, you go to the branch, the guy gives you an email address, and you send the declarations via PDF. And with that, they will check them and then raise your limit on the account.
Okay, got it. Second question. As someone who eats a lot of Greek yogurt and is a bit disappointed with what's available here, when are you going to tell us where you get yours?
Sorry, again?
So I eat a lot of Greek yogurt, but I'm not very happy with the options here. I hear you have an amazing source, so I'm very curious.
I do.
Are you going to share?
I will.
All right, we'll talk afterwards then.
Yeah, it's like every time I'm like, like when you build yourself like a golden cage. I don't know if it ever happened to you, but sometimes you go through like an endeavor, right? And you're like, I want to accomplish this and that. But then you do, and then you're like, fuck, now I can't go back. You can't actually do something else. Because now you've created all this thing that revolves around you, and you're like, maybe it wasn't the best choice. Like, I should pick my battles more wisely. So among the things that I don't have the actual time to do because I structured Paraguay Pathways, and it's very hard to actually change your course at a point. There is this company that produces the best Greek yogurt ever. They only use milk, nothing else. There is nothing else inside, just plain milk. And they deliver it to you freshly done, because since it's only milk, like it won't stay good for more than a week. And this company is ultra small, like we're talking a micro company, just a lady and her wife, a lady and her husband. And basically they produce it at home, they did all the necessary documents and bureaucracy and paperwork. And then I said, I'm very interested in investing in your company, but like I would like to scale it, add some marketing, add some branding, add a website, add an e-commerce, subscriptions, like actually transforming that into a company. But unfortunately, I don't have time to do that. But if you're staying in Paraguay and you're looking for a very good buyout, that is like a very good, very good business to acquire. And yeah, no, I will share. I will be super happy to share this with you. And like every week, people tell me the same thing, that they want to buy Greek yogurt. And yeah, you can't find this brand in the supermarket, right? It's literally just you have to know the girl and text her on WhatsApp and be like, "Yeah, I want this." And then they're gonna the husband comes to your house with his motorbike and delivers. And that's the scale at which they operate now. They do also kefir.
That sounds perfect. Super interested.
You should. I have the financials as well. Like they sent me everything. And then I kind of ghosted them that it's my fault.
So are you actually going to help them expand this into a proper company?
Yeah. Yeah, like it's literally, they even done all the paperwork, meaning it's literally just plug and play, you know, you just have to go there, add some marketing, have a plan for the next step of production when you can't just fit it into a kitchen, a house kitchen, and start, you know, growing the business. But it's like when you try I fell in love with the product, and then I was like, yeah, I gotta buy this company.
Okay, I feel that way with a lot of products here. To be honest, like I try to eat healthy, and I feel like a lot of stuff is just full of sugar.
Yeah.
And it's always a struggle to find healthy food. So Greek yogurt is just one example, but I mean that applies for whatever, like bread or I don't know, fruits.
Yeah, Latin America has this culture for like very sweet stuff. Even the Coca-Cola here has more sugar than it has in Europe. Like every big international brand, it's not the same. Even Nutella tastes like crap here. Because it's adapted to the local tastes. But the worst case is Brazil. Like in Brazil, my God, man, like everything is like pure sugar mixed with something. It's truly like that. If you taste like Coca-Cola in Brazil, it's unbelievable. This is sweet. Yeah, unfortunately, that's local taste, but it's changing. Like the fit wave has arrived here. It's just that the market is catching up. People do go to the gym, do have like the fit mindset, especially like upper middle class and above. And there's like gyms are packed, personal trainers are always busy, stuff like that. Same time, when it comes to the food options, there's maybe 2 restaurants that are known for fit food. La Nutri in Avenida Santissima Trinidad, that we called to do the catering for the grand opening of the gym. And then there is another one called La Huerta that you can find in Shopping del Sol, in Plaza Madero, I think in Shopping Mariscal as well. Yeah, Shopping Mariscal has it. And in some shopping centers, there's this one. Other than that, you have no fit options around. So there's a market to be developed around there.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. I also wanted to know if we skipped him.
Okay, I'm sorry to be late a little bit, but I have only one question. To be honest, I have some problem with compliance in some institutions outside Paraguay because of the address in Paraguay. They're okay with address in Paraguay, but they're not okay with this utility bill. And I think I need a bank account here because I do not have it right now. But which bank would you suggest? I will need it only for utility bill.
For the statement.
Only for the
Familiar.
statement.
I suggest Familiar.
Familiar. Okay.
Familiar has the absolute best bank account for that matter. Honestly, I think now that I mentioned, I think my account has been like closed for inactivity. I literally did the same thing many years ago. And they give you this like 5 letters random code that you have to remember forever, and then God knows where it is. But it's like the best bank account statement of all times, because you can generate it at any time. And it is like literally the first 2 things are your name, your address, Asuncion, like it's perfect, picture perfect. So if you open an account at Familiar, you have the perfect bank statement for an address.
So I can do it online, there's no problem, yeah?
If I remember correctly, I had to go to the branch, but it was like a few years ago. Probably now you can just do it online. I wouldn't be 100% sure.
Okay, gonna check.
Surely, generally, when you go to the bank, you need to provide a Paraguay Residency certificate, which is a certificate issued by the police that states your address, so that the bank knows that is your address.
Okay.
If you need help with that, we're happy to provide it. Like every one of you has a Paraguay Residency certificate because of the cedula. Or if you don't, it's because you will have it in a month or so when it's time to do the cedula. And with that, they note the address into the bank account and they give you the bank account statement. So for instance, we will also do the Paraguay Residency certificate. Well, if you have the address service, you have the Vida Residencia. So use that to go to the bank and be like, this is my Vida Residencia. That, I'm sure, it's only in person. Because sometimes here it happens, you open the account online, but the account is inactive until you go to the branch and provide this document and sign the contract in person. And that is most likely what's going to happen.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Amazing. I think here in front we...
No questions.
Okay.
More questions?
Any further questions? Let's see.
I forgot my question. Let me come up with another one. Okay, so opening a local bank account. I was planning to open, I don't know, Dugascopy or Sapo Bank. How difficult it is to open a bank account here. I'm channeling the money through Wyoming LLC, which is my build-to-company single member.
If you live here or you stay some time of the year, it's really useful to have a local bank account, like almost non-negotiable. The first step is to have the cedula. No cedula, no bank account. Okay. When you do have the cedula, you can open a bank account. The one that, for instance, he was mentioning, a basic bank account. This basic account only allows you to move up to 7 million guaranis a month, roughly $1,000. So it's not much of a bank account. How do you get from a basic to a full bank account? You have to provide 6 months of local tax returns. So that means you've opened the RUC, you start invoicing, getting activity into the RUC, you get to the 6th month, you show up to the bank, give them 6 months of tax declarations, they open your account. Sometimes, if you're lucky, because this is really the most random thing ever, after 3 months, you can already try, because some people do accept, and not some banks, some people, meaning like you talk with 3 people at the same bank, they give you 3 different answers. Some people accept 3 months. So it's still good to try. And with that, you can start raising your limits on the bank account, eventually applying for a credit card, applying for financing, getting the credit cards that give you discounts. Like another big benefit of having local accounts is the local credit cards have 25, 30% discounts at a lot of places. So it's good to even have a collection of local credit cards, because that allows you to get discounts pretty much everywhere. So that is the full journey in a certain sense. It is kind of easy once you have a cedula to open a bank account, but to get a good bank account, it's going to take a little bit of time.
Okay, cool. And for your personal investments, let's say they are ETFs and stocks, everything outside Paraguay, do you still report everything you've done with those per every year?
No.
Okay.
And that is the crazy thing, right? The crypto is treated so differently.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you buy and sell Bitcoin or Ethereum ETFs, it's fine.
Technically, yes.
Yeah. Anyone?
Yeah. I have a last one. How long does it take to use the cedula and the rook to open or to use it for a bank account or a trading account? So if we start the process now, 2-3 months. So when do I have both in hand to demonstrate them to the broker or whatever, the bank?
Okay, after you have the cedula, when it's brand new, it's generally not yet registered in the database of the tax authority. It happens automatically after some time, but some time means months. So what we do is instead we send them an email being like, okay, you have to add this cedula to your database. In lucky case, 2 days. Unlucky case, 2 weeks. They put you inside their system. At that point, the rook is almost immediate. So it's between 1 and 2, worst case scenario, 3 weeks after you have the cedula. And at that point, you can already use it for any brokerage, etc. The rook itself is only for when they ask you for your tax identification number, which is something that Interactive Brokers, for instance, does. The cedula is actually the most important document for banking, brokerages, and so on. Because
No, if I want to use Paraguay for a trading account, for instance, they ask for the document and also for the tax ID. No.
Yeah, for the tax identification number. But like for instance, on this, I found out with a famous client of ours. Say famous because he has the most presences at Q&As ever. He's been present to like 40, I don't know, like a lot. And when he switched his Interactive Brokers to his residency in Paraguay, he marked the option, I don't have a tax ID. Then
I don't have a
tax ID. Yeah. Then they got in touch and they said, why? And said, oh, because it's a territorial tax country, so I don't actually have all taxes on that. And therefore, I don't need it. And that's exactly what he did. He has a rook, by the way.
So it was the experience with Interactive Brokers?
Yeah, that is the one. Like everyone was always putting that rook number.
Yeah, exactly.
Until he found out it wasn't necessary.
So in fact, it's not necessary. And what happened to him? It was fine.
Yeah, fine. This has happened a lot of months ago now.
So just changing the country of residence without putting in any tax ID, and it works.
You can use the cedula and that's it, yeah. At least in this case, it worked, yeah.
Well, this sounds interesting. I'm not sure if I want to try it. In case they close the account then.
But like, it's not worth it because you still have, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks. That's the maximum amount of time you wait before you can insert the rook. So I don't think it's worth
2-3 weeks only more for the rook.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. I have in mind it was for 3 months.
Because this morning we were told it's 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
But because you're
after the
considering,
cedula.
yeah, I'm saying after the cedula. Yeah, because the cedula you will need anyways, right? But you did it only with the cedula without the rook.
Yeah.
But if you're waiting for the cedula, you might as well just wait for the rook as well.
Perfect. Anyone else? Hands up, hands down. You go for it.
Las preguntas online.
We have the online guys who are joining us from every corner of the world.
Okay. A ver. Alessandro, who is trading stock and option taxes if all in Paraguay?
If you're trading options and stocks of Paraguay,
Yeah, all in Paraguay.
okay. So when it comes to stocks and any financial asset, the point, according to the law, is whether the asset belongs to a Paraguayan listed company or not. So if you are in Paraguay physically, but the asset doesn't belong to a Paraguayan company or to the local branch of a foreign company, then it is outside of the scope of territorial taxation. While if you trade a local stock, there is a small but increasingly interesting stock market in Paraguay. You're going to pay an 8% capital gain tax.
What do you think about the Estonian company to go with Paraguayan tax residency? Because LLC doesn't really work for people who do a lot of business in the US.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time standing setup. You do the Estonia. I would say I would still much rather prefer either Nevis or Hong Kong. Both would allow you to have like a proper 0% company tax rate without having to deal with this like 22% dividend yield. But if I pay myself a salary, and also Hong Kong banking, I would pick over European banking. So that's it. For instance, one can use Jeeves, which is a great bank with an Hong Kong LTD, and you have euros, pounds, US dollars, and Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, all on the same account. It's like a WISE for companies. If you have a Hong Kong LTD, it's very easy to open it. So it's a great option. And Nevis also is so great, especially after the OneSafe and Ugly Cash and all these neobanks are accepting to bank Nevis LLCs. Okay, but if you want, because you want to have a foothold in Europe, because for whatever reason you want to have an attachment, let's say, to Europe financially, yes, it does work perfectly to use the Estonian company instead.
And this guy is saying that he's a bit concerned about the new law on crypto, and he wants to know if you were to of dividends, is there a tax on them in Paraguay, regardless of whether I'm there physically or not?
No, dividends coming from foreign companies are not taxed in Paraguay.
Good. Can we ask the apostille for the translation be done? Sorry, es una pregunta más larga. I have a question regarding the necessary documents. Understand that the resident documents need to be apostilled, but do the translation of the documents need to be apostilled in the country of origin of the document, or can it be done in the country where the translation is made? For example, I have documents from Austria, apostilled there, but the translation is from Argentina. Can the apostille for the translation be done in Argentina?
Yes. The easiest way to go with it in this case is to have the documents translated in Paraguay. Like the only case in which one has to bring the documents translated and the translation needs to be apostilled is in those cases in which there is not a translator of your language in Paraguay. But in those cases in which there is a sworn translator in Paraguay, you'd be better off doing it here because it's cheaper, first, and second, because you wouldn't need to apostille the translation since it's already done in Paraguay. With that said, yes, you can do the translation in any country, and you can apostille the translation in any country. That's it for the online questions. Yes. All right. Any new questions? No? Amazing. So, guys, I would thank you all for participating at this week's Q&A. Hope to see you all at the Gringo night. It's gonna be a nice night. And as always, for those who followed online, we'll see you guys in Paraguay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.